Did you know that according to the Crime Survey of England and Wales, 3.1 million adults between the ages of 18 and 74 experienced a type of abuse before they turned 16? Emotional neglect, sexual abuse. Did you also know that 54% of adults who had encountered sexual abuse before they turned 16 went on to experience another type of abuse as an adult, be it domestic, emotional neglect, and sexual abuse? Did you also know that sexual abuse has become the most common type of abuse that has needed counselling in recent years? I'm Toy Nokanuga. I'm the author of the #1 new release best-selling book, Hush to Roar. Hush to Roar is my memoir. It's a story of love, childhood trauma, and recovery. I am your inspirational mindset expert in ACEs, which stands for Adverse Childhood Experiences. My business, Hush to Roar, allows you to reach your inner child using my deliberate but intentional steps. It lets you realize that the deeper healing you need, that inner child just wants a hug from you. It doesn't want anything outside of you. And that hug, what it constitutes is 1, looking after yourself. 2, believing that you have everything within you to get better. 3, to seek help, professional help, to get better. And encompasses so many other attributes that are healing for you and to give you hope. Because once you do all that, you are healing that inner child that you've left there and feels deep-rooted due to your adverse childhood experiences. So the reason I call myself an expert in ACEs is due to a lot of variables and factors. One is because I've obtained different certifications such as childhood adversity, which covers maltreatment of children, as well as young adults and their mental health, and also an introduction to cognitive psychology. But they're very theoretical, apart from the practical cognitive one. I'll tell you that most profoundly, the reason I feel qualified, the reason I know I'm qualified to talk to you about this topic is because of my own stories. The practical aspect that I went through as a child. And today I'll be talking to you about the 6 reasons why we need to talk about sexual abuse and mental health right now. So sexual abuse, and not minimizing other childhood trauma, but we know that there's some that are just hushed. And my book is Hush to Roar. I no longer hush. Why? Because I know the devastating effects of hushing these difficult but necessary topics that we need to address. Because why? They affect all of us one way or the other. They'll affect our children. It'll become a generational trauma. It'll become legendary burdens. We know for a fact that if you have had, from the statistics I told you at the beginning, if you have had some sort of abuse, you go on later in life to have more. And I'll cover the reasons why that is the case through my thorough healing that I did and realized, oh, that's why. But today I'll just be covering why we need to go down and start doing our own little bits of being attentive, listening out to someone who might be going through some sort of traumatic event at home. And the first reason is during these times where the virus has escalated now from the variant 1 to 2, 3, a lot of people are becoming more anxious. So it's because of the COVID times. So some people who have for so long buried their traumatic events or experiences, this is the time where that pressure cooker might explode. And they will take out that explosion on those who are around them, including children, their own children, or uncles or aunties, or whoever people are looking after in terms of children. Not even just children, even wives or men. It depends on whoever's around those people who have deep-rooted pain. So that's number one, COVID times, which is a terrible thing to say because I don't want to say it's COVID times, and we will come through this, but only if we are intentional about a lot of aspects. So of course I'll say let's keep our distance, let's keep wearing our masks, washing our hands, but also being our brother's keeper during these times. So number one, that's due to these unprecedented COVID times. And number two is that hurting people hurt. There's that saying. And hurting people, now a lot of people have lost their jobs, they're furloughed, they're part-time, there's not a lot of money or resources that's going around for their family. So if they had gone through some adverse events in their life before, and now coupling with this, it will just put them in a more vulnerable situation where, again, hurting people hurt, they'll hurt those people around. So we need to do our bit and look out for those that we can if we experience something. But at the end, I'll tell you what steps we can take to do our little bit. Of course, I'm not saying policing, but just our little bit. That's the second one. And I've got my notes here because there's so many, but I want to keep to the script. And the third one is due to the restrictions that are placed on us right now, it means people have to stay at home. And when you're at home and you're tensed, again, you vex out your anger. This could be domestic, it could be violence physically, and it could be sexual. So when we are in places that are confined and we've got other people around us and people have unresolved issues, it's just the recipe for that sort of disaster to take place. So that's the third one, unresolved childhood traumatic experiences, which comes out now. And then we also have limited healthcare resources. So because of the limited resources that we have, it means we just stay at home and we just don't want to go and get the care that we need because we don't want to be exposed to the virus. But I say please reach out. If you have anything that's bothering you, please reach out. For this particular issue, the sexual abuse I'm talking about, I won't leave you open. I've got links below which are for organisations that can help, and I will mention those at the end of this. So sorry, I think I mentioned the unresolved childhood, which would have been the fourth one. So the third one was the fact that the restrictions in place, and the fourth one is unresolved childhood traumatic events. And the fifth one is limited healthcare. And the sixth one is the reason why we absolutely need to talk about sexual abuse and mental health is because if we don't, it will become generational trauma years to come, marking the very time that this all started in terms of the virus. We need to talk about it. We need to be proactive. So as I mentioned, the organisations that you can reach out to, please, if you're a child, you can reach out to people. If you're 18 or under, there's a number, NSPCC, which is the National Society for Prevention of Childhood Cruelty. and that number will be at the bottom for if you're 18 or under, and the adults, that number for NSPCC is there. There's also a number for Stop It Now, and their link is below. Please visit it. And there's also a mental health innovation network, which is a link for those based in Nigeria. And there are lovely people out there, lovely therapists who can also help. There's a lovely lady who has her YouTube channel. Her name is Katie Morton. You can also see her link below. So those are the reasons why we need to talk about this very difficult topic, which is sexual abuse. Because if we don't, it will affect you and I. And people might be sitting out there and thinking, I don't know anyone who's getting abused, and moreover, we're all fine in our own little bubble. No. Because your child, my child, tomorrow will become adults in a society that, if we don't put our hand and say, stop it now, will be riddled with people getting together with people who have been abused. And that's how that generation goes on. It's not unique to a family who has been abused. So guys, I will implore that we do our little bit. And I said I'll say what the little bits we can do. As a child growing up, as I said, my story included sexual abuse. And it's just questions like looking at a child and seeing that they look unhappy. Maybe they've gone to buy a sweet or something. You can, if you know that person, of course, not just out of the blue, you can ask, oh, how are you doing? And depending on how open the child is, you can go further and say, oh, so you're sleeping right? Are you sleeping well these days? And you never know, that person could open up to say, no, they're not sleeping okay. And it depends on how the conversation goes. You will know as an adult, but I know sometimes we do assume that we know, because these are very difficult questions to ask. But it's just asking, are you okay? That could be a life saver. So yes, that's one or two that I could say you could start with. And I think because you know the body language, you can decipher from just those two questions. And yeah, you could then say, do you want to talk about it? And just see how receptive they are. So guys, I implore you that we talk about these, but seek help. You're not alone. You're not alone at all. We can't allow depression to take over our life. It's adding insult upon the original injury. And that's why I give nothing, no one, no place, my power that I've taken over. Please subscribe to Hush to Raw so that you can see these videos on the twice weekly, Tuesdays and Fridays that I release them, but also press that notification bell. And if you want to see more videos that I've released, you check the links there or there. And yeah, if you want to know more about me, there are 3 ebooks below. But most importantly, if you want to know the full shebang of toying and why this is so at the depth of my heart, Hush to Raw's your baby. It's available on Amazon. It's also available on my website at www.hushtorow.com/mybook. Thanks for watching. Remember, your inner child has a voice. Don't suppress it. Let it roar.